Help. Call 405-735-5510. Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings Studios, it's time to get locked in to the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Tyler McComas and Parker Thune.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino calling line at 405-329-9000. Text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Tyler McComas and Parker Thune.
2 weeks! You had 2 freaking weeks. You knew who your quarterback is going to be. You knew who your running backs, your wide receivers, your offensive line. You knew what your personnel was going to be going into the biggest game of the season. And here's what you got. Missed field goal, punt, field goal, punt, fumble, punt, turnover on downs. Ridiculous, man. 2 weeks. You had 2 weeks. And we saw offensively what has been a disaster once again this season, man. Like, Parker, I'm still pissed just like everyone else is. And I know from the fan side of things, that's not a cheap trip. That's a very expensive trip to take, regardless if you live here or in Dallas or whatever. It's one of the more expensive trips of the year. And to go down and spend that money, and that is what you get from the offense on Saturday, dude, it infuriates me. And here's maybe the worst thing of all, and I want to get it to as many texts as we can today because I know the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line's been flying today, and we want to respect everyone and get to as many as we can. But, you know, for as disappointing as it was it truly all that shocking? Like, you left mad and you left frustrated, but how many people walked out of there and said, I am shocked that that's what they look like offensively?
Look, maybe I'm just more of a homer than other one. And okay, now you got your guy, really exciting true freshman, a dude that's going to go to war if he has to for this university and that logo. And I figured, okay, you got an extra week of prep. Things are going to open up. You got a guy at QB who's going to be highly motivated to play and win this football game. It's going to be a different version of Oklahoma football than we've seen to this point in the season. And it was a different version, Tyler. It was a markedly worse version.
Yes.
It was the worst version of Oklahoma that we have seen in 2024. And that's saying a lot.
It was so bad that you were reminded and brought up 2022, the 2022 game all over again. You know what I mean? Like, we were kind of past that after winning last year, but you were so bad offensively, you didn't score a touchdown that you had no choice but to bring up the 2022 disaster again because for the second time in 3 years, you didn't score a touchdown in this game. Didn't score a touchdown. And why I say I'm not shocked, I was disappointed, and yeah, I thought that they would be more competent offensively than what they were. But this offense it hasn't gotten better. Like, the personnel has changed, and I understand the injuries and, you know, different things, but the offense was bad against Houston, and I don't feel like the offense is any better today right now than it was all the way back week 2 of the season. It's not just bad. It doesn't even feel like they're getting better at this point.
Well, and the play calling is bad. Okay,
yes.
Let's just start there. The play calling is bad. Yes, Seth Luttrell needs to be held accountable. He is being held accountable in very public fashion by this entire fan base, and it is warranted. I will also say this, however, this team is very poor at executing on the offensive side of the ball. Very poor. On basically every single play, Tyler, every single play, somebody is not doing their 111th. And on many occasions, it's multiple guys that aren't doing their 111th. And it's not always the same guy. It's not even regularly the same guy. Some things just aren't there. For instance, Bauer Sharp is not a good blocker.
No, he's not.
Bauer Sharp is not a good blocker. Your only running back that provides any explosiveness out of the backfield fumbled on his longest carry of the day, Saturday. If it's not one thing, it's another for this offense. And it all starts at the top with Seth Luttrell and the play calling, but it is altogether myopic to act like this is just a Seth Luttrell issue, because although Seth Luttrell is an issue and his play calling is an issue, it is far from the only one. All around, this Oklahoma offense is bad by every measure and every standard.
Well, it's after the Houston game. And this is like worst case scenario. It's not just one thing. It's not just Taylor Tatum and the running backs, or it's not just the quarterback. And I'm sure that there's been a lot of text about this today. I'm sure that we'll see a lot as well. Well, maybe we should give Casey Thompson a try. Well, maybe Jackson Arnold should be back in there. I know Gerald McCoy responded to one of our tweets on our account yesterday and say that. You can do that, but guys, in no way should you expect the end result to change, because it's not just one thing, it's everything. It's the run game, it's the pass game, it's the offensive line play. It is literally everything, and it's been like that for over a month now. So we've known for over a month it's not just one thing with this offense, it's everything, and they still haven't been able to find something that they are good at, to hang their hat on and say, no matter what the situation is, we can do this well. They don't have that, and we are halfway through the season. Halfway through the season. All right, I said I'd get to the text line. Let's do it, 405-651-3439. We are worse than Iowa, says one-star recruiting boomer.
And that's true. That is pretty objectively true right now.
Boomer Brady, our coaches made some perplexing decisions. Down 7-3. Why is Makari Vickers in the game? He hardly played this season, and you can tell why. That surprised me as well when I saw Makari Vickers in as early as we did. It surprised me. I was like, oh, there's Devon Jordan back there. About to field a kickoff, okay, and that did not work out well either.
And gosh, and that was so predictable too. Okay, you got a true freshman back there. You're getting blown out. He's going to try to be a hero. He's going to try to do something special, and he did. And he gets stuffed at the 12-yard line.
918, I get execution is an issue, but don't you think coaching could be causing some of this lack of execution? I think it could be what they are getting coached to do. I mean, again, it's everything with the offense. And I mentioned the certain position groups or players. I throw coaching on that as well. I mean, put coaching in there first to me when it comes to the offense. Not just a part of the equation, but the biggest part of the equation at this point.
A 580 listener says, somehow this feels worse than 2022, especially with going out and being that horrifically bad after having 2 weeks to prepare. I don't even know if this is a hot take, Tyler. It felt like it immediately following the game on Saturday, but then I heard and saw a whole lot of people echoing the same sentiment. I think that's the worst loss of the Venables era.
You thought Saturday was?
Circumstantially, yeah, because as I mentioned on Twitter, you had excuses, and you had some very legitimate excuses for some of the losses in 2022. 49-0, oh, you never had a prayer in that football game. They were rolling out a freaking tight end at quarterback because there was no better option. You don't have any such excuse in 2024. Say what you will about having wide receivers hurt. It still remains the case that every single wide receiver that touched the field for Oklahoma on Saturday was a former blue-chip recruit. The talent is there. This team does not look like they are coached well, at least on offense. They do not look like they execute well. And when it's and when you don't execute, and when your coaching, your play calling, your scheming is not conducive to the success of your best offensive playmakers, where does that leave you, Tyler? It leaves you with one formula for victory, which is to play lights out on defense.
Yeah.
If that doesn't happen, you lose.
Well, and I tell you what else is, maddening about this game is, buddy, we talked about this game for 2 weeks.
Yep.
They prepared for 2 weeks. I didn't really look like it, but we talked about this game for 2 weeks, every single angle, what needs to happen, what can happen, what it's going to look like if this happens. The first 15 minutes of that game unfolded exactly the way that you wanted it to. I know that you missed the field goal and you turned your third drive into 3 points instead of just a touchdown, but man, you were dominating time of possession. Texas was doing nothing with the run game, nothing in the pass game. Quinn Ewers looked rattled. You were really like, you looked like the better team the first 15 minutes. And then 20 minutes real time later, or at least what it felt like 30 minutes later, you felt like the game was over when it was at 14-3. It got to 14-3, and I said, this football game's over, man. OU's not going to score 14 points today. You didn't even have confidence in the second quarter that this offense could find a way to score 14 points on Saturday. And they didn't score again, clearly, after their field goal drive, but it laid out perfectly. You had the perfect first 15 minutes of the game, and you didn't do a freaking thing to it, and you got outscored 34-0 after that. What a disaster the second quarter was. Oh, my gosh.
Steven Texas on the text line says, this season is a total loss. Write it off. How do we save what we can of the 2025 recruiting class, particularly since, presuming we fire Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley, we won't have a new offensive coordinator until after the end of the season? I mean, basically at this point, if you're OU and you are indeed anticipating some turnover on staff, and there's going to have to be some turnover on staff.
There will be.
What you have to use as your main sell to recruits, whether guys that are not yet committed or guys that are currently committed and you're trying to keep them on board, what you have to tout is what Bob Stoops said the day after Lincoln Riley departed, which is there's no one guy, one individual that's bigger than the program. And so if you commit here, you're not committing to one individual, you're committing to a program, and we're going to get this program going in the right direction. Though it may be stuck in neutral right now, we're going to assemble the right cast of characters to get this program back in championship contention.
Chris in Tulsa, 100% acceptable for the University of Oklahoma to only score 3 points against Texas. This offensive staff is becoming a joke now. The Waffler says it was over at 7-3, man. We are so bad offensively. It's embarrassing, atrocious, and it freaking sucks. 405, what I don't understand is other teams have lost players from last year, numerous new players, revamped offense, and they are able to execute. Even Vanderbilt, we look lost. Yeah, this is college football, man. Everyone loses players. And it feels like maybe there's more turnovers on rosters now than there's ever been with not only graduation, but with the transfer portal as well. Like, OU is not the only team in college football that lost a lot on the offensive side last year. And I watch a lot of college football throughout the week, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and I see a whole lot of offenses that look competent, that look like they at least know what they want to do and know what they're trying to achieve. They have an identity. They have players that if you make a mistake, they can take advantage of it. And OU can't run the ball, and they certainly can't throw the ball down the field, or at least they're not trying to throw the ball down the field at this point, man. Like, OU has got to be the easiest team to defend in the SEC, maybe the easiest team to defend in Power 4 right now, Parker, because all you got to do is play straight up defensively. Play your base package, whatever that is, because OU doesn't look like they have a prayer right now of stretching a defense and pushing the ball down the field. And when you can just do that and tee off on their run game, then life is really, really easy for you as a defense.
OU is very predictable offensively. Very predictable. There's no nuance. There's no creativity. And that was already glaringly obvious, Tyler. But it became all the more obvious in this particular contest because the guy calling plays on the opposite sideline was in his bag.
Yeah, he was.
Sark was dialing up double passes. He was dialing up backside screens.
He was trying to rub it in, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he has Matthew Golden throw downfield to Gunnar Helm with 4 minutes left. Like, you can take a knee at that point and the game's over. And he is still deep in the bag of tricks, doing the most to make sure that he rubs your nose in it.
Krabby Sooner says we need to get back to Arnold. At least he'll pull the trigger and sling it. We got to be a passing threat, plus he can run good enough. Again, if they want to go back to Jackson Arnold at some point, I don't know if that'll happen. I think Michael Hawkins is the starter on Saturday, and if I had to guess, barring injury, Michael Hawkins is probably your starter for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But you can throw in whoever you want, and that's the bad thing. I don't think the result's going to change because everything around the quarterback spot is not good.
You made your bed with Hawkins. That's your guy the rest of the way. There's no two ways about it. It has to be. This is the guy that you're committed to at this point. And quite frankly, was Oklahoma's first half of offense against Tennessee any prettier than their first half of offense against Texas?
Not really.
I would argue it was uglier. Same results scoreboard-wise, which was 3 points, and you had 3 ugly turnovers from Jackson Arnold. So I get it. You feel like, any alternative has to be better than the status quo. I don't know how many ways I can say it. Like, that's just not true. I hear the whole can't get any worse thing about this or this or this umpteen times. And ultimately, Tyler, although it may be bad, you don't want to tempt fate because it can get worse. Yeah. In pretty much every case, it can absolutely get worse.
1984 OU1 on the YouTube chat says, don't blame Sark. If you can do it, do it. Oh, I'm not blaming Sark at all. If OU was ever in that situation where, it just seems so far off from reality that OU could have a situation on offense where they'd have a chance to rub it in someone's face, especially their biggest rival. But if you can do it in that game, you do it in that game, 100%. So I'm not blaming Sark whatsoever.
We've lost someone. On the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line.
What happened?
Someone has turned to the dark side.
Oh, no,
They texted in and said, hire Art Briles.
Don't jump! Don't do it! Don't jump! Hire Fart Briles. Man.
Somebody
lost.
typed the words hire Art Briles and hit send on that text. That's where we're at on this Monday, Tyler.
Man, it sucks, and it hurts that your biggest rival that you hate and that we made fun of for so long is that far ahead of you right now. I don't necessarily think Texas is going to go win the national championship. I'm very interested to see what they do this week against Georgia, but they're clearly a good football team with an identity. They know what they want to do. They do a lot of things well, and they look bigger, faster, more physical. They just look like a much better football team than you, and that sucks when that's the biggest case with your biggest rival. All right, 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. I mean, we may talk about some recruiting. There's a couple of interesting things out there, but we're going to get to your text, and we'll talk about this loss on Saturday and what to expect here moving forward. Right here on The Ref, we're the home of Sooner fans.
Through the dead of winter to the dawn of spring, through the dog days of summer and the kickoff of fall, no one covers Sooner football like we do. The Ref is SEC ready. Are you?
Schumacher Law Group, when experience matters. Tracy Schumacher is a former prosecutor and former district judge. Whether it's a probate challenge, criminal charges, or contentious divorce proceedings, experience matters. The attorneys at Schumacher Law Group provide compassionate, knowledgeable advice, all while fighting for your best interests. Find Schumacher Law Group online at lawgroupok.com or call 405-701-1882. Hometown lawyers ready to fight for you when experience matters.
Hey, sports fans, this is Porter Moser, the head men's basketball coach for the Oklahoma Sooners, and I'm excited to be part of this historic moment. The Rock Creek Entertainment District creates opportunity for the citizens of Norman and all Sooner fans. The district will further enhance our community and provide a top-of-the-line entertainment area for generations while creating an opportunity for future economic growth that benefits Norman and its citizens. Together, let's make history and move forward.
Join us in making Norman a great place to live, work, and play.
I'm State Farm Agent Julia Chu, and you already know our office is a place to turn for your insurance and financial needs. Now that place has changed to 701 Wall Street. While the location may have changed, the commitment of our team is as strong as ever. So whether you already know us or want the one-of-a-kind service offered by the Julia Chu Agency, call us at 329-3311 or come visit at our new location, 701 Wall Street, right on the corner of Boardwalk and Wall Street in Norman.
When students struggle because they are hungry
or fall behind because they lack school supplies,
a caring adult can make all the difference.
Especially someone from the community.
Someone who knows the students
and the obstacles they might be facing.
At Communities in Schools, our site coordinators surround students with a community of support
to ensure that they have everything they need to engage in learning.
We go all in for kids, all day, every day.
To learn more, visit communitiesinschools.org.
Did you know that about 23% of Oklahoma's river and stream miles are impaired by bacteria? Pet waste can pollute surface and drinking waters like Lake Thunderbird by contributing harmful levels of bacteria. Be sure to pick up after your furry friend when you're out and about. We drink our stormwater, so please do your part to help protect it. For more information, visit bit.ly/Norman Stormwater.
People are always looking to invest in a good opportunity. So what if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change, called Better Futures. With your investment, it helps students like me go to college. My name is Charles, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
We all have someone we love, like the favorite lyric in our favorite song. You can't imagine life without them. Cancer screening tests can help keep the person you love around longer by detecting changes before cancer develops. or catch it early when it may be easier to treat. And many tests are available for free or covered by insurance. It's time to sound like a broken record. Tell all your friends and family, I love you. Get screened. Visit cancer.org/getscreened to learn more.
Now. We tend not to think about now. We dream about tomorrow, relive yesterday. But right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. Victory over cancer is there for the taking by you, because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory. Learn more at v.org.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line going crazy, and it has been all day long. We've already gotten 205 text messages in the past 30 minutes since 2 p.m. You guys from noon to 1, 459 texts from noon to 1. We've already got 205 since 2 o'clock, man.
It's a therapy day.
It really is. And thanks to Gabarinos for helping with that therapy a little bit, bringing in all that food. I was telling Casey Vineyard that I think Gabarinos is like the best Italian that I think that you're going to find around, not just Norman, but like the area. I think it's that good, man. I think it's fantastic. 400 Ed Noble Parkway in Norman. Check them out. It is really, really, really high-level Italian food. Big fan of Gabarinos, whether they bring it in here or their actual restaurant. 400 Ed Noble Parkway in Norman. It's fantastic. So appreciate Gabarinos for bringing in food today. Remember, was it after the Houston game or after the Tennessee loss where someone said, when does basketball season start? We're like, whoa! Basketball season does start soon. OU is just picked to finish 15th in the 16-team SEC. That poll, preseason poll, just came out a few minutes ago. So 15th out of 16th. Only in front of Vanderbilt's. Oh, boy. All right. You think they're going to finish higher than 15th? I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully that's the case. I need something good to happen around here when it comes to sports. Okay, Brent from Jinx says it's 2:30 and Seth Luttrell with his 125th ranked offense is still employed at OU? How? The time is now to act fast. Fire Luttrell, promote or hire an interim play caller that as soon as the season ends goes hire the best OC we can get. If not, people will start turning on BV. This is the University of Oklahoma, a top 3 football blue blood. You're going to attract the best. And I said this on the postgame show on Saturday night. I agree with a lot of that. Yeah. It's here's what I want OU to do. And frankly, here's what I think Brent Venables is going to do, because his future at Oklahoma, I think, heavily depends on the next OC hire and how successful that individual is. But don't hire someone necessarily from within. Don't hire someone just because they used to play at Oklahoma 15 years ago. You evaluate, you do your due diligence, you go find who you think is the best offensive coordinator out there. And by the way, can you go hire an OC with the thought of this is kind of what we want to be stylistically on offense? You know, like go out there, figure out what you want your identity to be, hire the guy that does that the best, and go out and pay someone. Because let's be honest here, changes are going to happen, whether they're next week or at the end of the season. And if this next OC doesn't work out for Brent, then he's going to be in some trouble, man.
It needs to be a Zach Alley type of hire. It needs to be somebody that Brent goes out of his way outside the Oklahoma bubble. And I don't think you necessarily have to go outside the Oklahoma bubble, but I feel like that's what people want at this point. And you have to be mindful of what the fans will approve of. Right? It's the same reason that whenever Florida gets around to hiring Billy Napier, they just can't hire another coach from the G5 ranks because you lose the fan base at that point. You can't hire a guy that feels like another Billy Napier if you're Florida. And similarly, you can't hire a guy that feels like another Seth Luttrell if you're Brent Venables. They've got to go get somebody that is going to bring some vibrance to the table, somebody who's going to be dynamic as a recruiter. Like if you're trying to completely revamp the perception of offense at the University of Oklahoma, and it's wild that the perception has become what it has now become, but you got to be willing to go spend big money.
Yeah, you have to.
You got to spend big money. Like you got to go get a Brennan Marion, for instance, or you got to go get a Mike Shanahan. Not that Mike Shanahan, but Indiana offensive
Mike
coordinator.
Shanahan was at OU, I think, for
He
was it the Houston game, or maybe it was the opener? Maybe it was the opener, whatever it was.
Yeah, Mike Shanahan was on OU's staff at one point as a GA, I believe. But, yeah, you're going to have to spend big money for your next OC. And I want to emphasize this, and I firmly believe this. If you want Seth Littrell gone, I'm not going to fault you for that opinion. I do not think it makes any sense to fire him midseason. I don't, because – and so many people have said it can't get any worse, and I've said, well, yeah, it can. And so many people say, no, it can't. Well, look, just because it can't get any worse doesn't mean it's automatically going to get better either. And basically what you do is you're just embracing chaos for the remainder of the season if you fire your offensive coordinator, because whoever's going to be calling the plays next is still going to be calling plays from Seth Littrell's playbook. Like, the offense doesn't change. It's just going to be someone else calling the shots.
If you lose on Saturday, we all know what the reason's going to be. If you lose on Saturday, it's going to be because you look terrible on offense once again. I just wonder a week from now if the pressure is just too much from the donors, from the fan base. I don't know where administration currently sits right now, but if you lose on Saturday, is there just too much pressure and you have to make a change somewhere? Because they're like a 2.5, 3-point favorite, and I think a lot of people are shocked that OU is actually a favorite in this game, but South Carolina can absolutely come in here and win this game, man. They look good in Tuscaloosa this past weekend. They've looked good at a couple of different points so far this year. South Carolina they're a solid football team, man, and they're certainly good enough to beat this OU team with where the offense is at right now. And if you lose that game, it's going to be hard to come up with 2 more victories for this team to make bowl eligibility. So if you want to get to 6, I feel like you got to win on Saturday, man. KW the 918, how's anyone surprised by Saturday? They barely beat Houston. Sick of the injury excuse, too. We're aware people are hurt. That's why you may lose a game, but there's no excuse to make an ass out of yourself on national TV twice now. Changes need to be made now to salvage recruiting because every offensive player has regressed. Are we at a point where we got to worry about I don't think you've got to worry about the defensive side of the class, but are we at a point where there's growing concern about keeping offensive players committed in the 2025 class?
If there isn't, there sure should be. Because I promise you other teams are hitting Cortez Mills' line. And that's just to pick one example. I guarantee you other staffs are licking their chops looking at what's happening at Oklahoma and some of the talent, especially at the skill positions that they have committed in this recruiting cycle. Mills, I would imagine, is getting calls. Marcus Harris is probably getting some calls. Manny Choice is probably getting some calls.
Sure. That's just the nature of it, man.
In those people's mind, like regardless of whether or not it's true, in those people's minds, it's going to be open season on OU's class as long as they are scuffling like this.
918, hire whoever you want as OC, but no more former fullbacks or tight ends. If you don't want a former fullback as the OU offensive coordinator, then I'm down with that too. But how about implement a fullback or an H-back in the offense? And that one individual thing does not fix everything that's wrong with the offense, but I'd like to see that at least an element of the OU offense because it's been so successful for so many years. When OU's really good at fullback and OU's really good at H-back, then it feels like they've had a really good offense those years. I like that element. Alex from Manford says, I know this is probably a stupid idea, but it's worth a shot. Go get Brennan Marion to be the quarterback/OC. It's not going well at TU, so bring in Kevin Wilson back home to coach tight ends and be the COOC. He will make more money being our OC than he is at TU. I don't think Kevin Wilson would leave a head coaching job to come and be the offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. I don't think I don't think Kevin Wilson would do that.
I mean, if things keep going the way that they're going at Tulsa right now.
Yeah, he may get fired. Yeah, sure.
Maybe. But, yeah, it's got to be a sexy hire at OC, and I don't know that Kevin Wilson is a sexy hire. Brennan Marion sure is. Brennan Marion is going to make a lot of money this offseason. You're going to have to win a bidding war if you want Brennan Marion. But I think what's fortunate if you're in Oklahoma's situation is that there are enough guys that are now emerging as kind of the next crop of innovative young offensive minds at the collegiate level and guys that are going to be available this offseason that If it's not Brennan Marion, it could be a guy like Dean Kennedy from James Madison, or a guy like Mike Shanahan from Indiana, or a guy that we talked about a little bit last year, Willie Korn at Liberty, who was at Clemson previously. So the options are going to be there. It just comes down to, for your personnel and for your program, can you go find the guy that is the best fit amongst that group? Is he going to reciprocate the interest, and are you going to be willing to go pay enough money to beat out all comers for his services?
580, oh my, you're saying Brett should do what Bob Stoops did, find the best OC possible. It can and will get worse. It says bowl eligible, 3 question marks, 3 laughing face emojis. Yeah, well, bowl eligibility might be 3 laughing face emojis if they lose to South Carolina on Saturday.
We have a texter advocating for Oklahoma to hire Jimbo Fisher as their offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, we're in a tough
what
spot,
a time
buddy.
This is.
Yeah. We've had a Art Briles and now a Jimbo Fisher called to be the next OC.
Colin KC asked, can we not call Cale Gundy to at least just provide some kind of a steady hand? This has been a train wreck for this offense since we had to let him go. That's not true. Oklahoma was a very good offensive team in 2023. They had a top 10 offense in the nation in 2023. This year it has been bad. I don't think Cale Gundy is coming back.
I don't think so
I don't
either.
think Cale Gundy has any desire to come back.
And maybe from the other side, too. I mean, the way that it ended, right? This wasn't a situation where, hey, Cale Gundy just said, man, I just spend more time with my family. Like, I'm just going to retire. Like, we know the situation that happened. They're not going to bring back Cale Gundy. I just don't think that's going to happen. 3-star UConn Bob. Brandon Marion has had 12 jobs in the last 13 years. Are you sure you want that?
He's had 12 jobs in the last 13 years because he's just continued to work his way up the totem pole very, very gradually. He was the wide receivers coach out in Shawnee at Oklahoma Baptist back in 2016.
OBU, man.
And it's been one step after another, and he has continually put himself in better and better position to go land a big-time OC job or even a head coaching job. Like, I would imagine that guy gets head coaching interviews this offseason. Whether he's ready to make that jump, I don't know. That's up to him. But if Brendan Marion is the guy you want, you also have to concede the possibility that he is a head coach somewhere before you even get the opportunity to engage with him.
All right. Krabby Sooner, quit all the Graham Harrell, Dan Mullen, Dana Holgerson, Cale Gundy talk, you morons. Good grief. Here's a Scott Frost from the 405. Here's a Justin Fuente from the 405. Cliff Kingsbury, Dan Mullen, Joey Halsley, Leftwich at TSU, Jimbo Fisher. Boy, we've got names galore. Doug Nussmeier at LSU.
Yeah, Nussmeier ain't going anywhere. He's got one of his kids currently playing.
Or is he with the Eagles staff right now? Is that where Doug Nussmeier is at?
I don't know, but if he goes anywhere in the collegiate ranks, I'd be surprised if it isn't LSU.
Where's all the Dan Mullen talk coming from? Because he was on campus last year, and that photo got put out last night of he, Brent, and Barry Bygod Switzer. Is that why the whole Dan Mullen? I mean, I know Dan Mullen had some good offenses when he was at Florida and at Mississippi State, but I'm just kind of wondering where the whole Dan Mullen stuff is coming from.
We've got to vote for Mike McCarthy. A vote for Chip
Kelly.
No!
Okay, I'll laugh at your Art Briles. I'll laugh at your Jimbo Fisher, but God, no, I'm not Mike McCarthy, okay? That is going too far. We have crossed the line. Can we get back to where we need to be here? That guy, jeez. Trey McGuire is on there.
Just stop.
It's Spurrier, OC from TU. Oh boy, we are lost right now. By the way, Andrew Babalola, there is a Fong bomb for him to end up at Michigan, and several other predictions for Babalola to end up at Michigan. Like the OU offense not being great on Saturday, not shocked to see that Babalola in Michigan looks like it's probably going to become a thing soon.
I don't know. If I'm Bill Bedenbaugh, I just call Andrew Babalola and say, hey, did you get a chance to watch us on Saturday? Yeah, man, look, we need you. What's it going to take?
Like, what's there to build on right now offensively? Like, is there anything that's happened recently to where you say, well, at least we can build on that. At least we can, maybe do this a little bit more. Because they try to, do some creative things with the run game on Saturday, and a lot of that ended up being a disaster. So, dude, what's the game plan on Saturday, and what do you go back to? Do you try to do all that misdirection crap that you
don't go
tried?
back to anything.
I don't know what you do.
Nothing has worked to this point. Absolutely nothing has worked. So, I don't know what the game plan is. I'm glad I don't have to develop it, because none of the things that we have reason to believe this offense has down pat in terms of execution and conceptual understanding, none of it has worked to this point. And so it's either you dig deeper into the playbook, you unleash schemes and concepts that you haven't used thus far, or you just count on your team being able to execute a very mundane and uninteresting game plan for the first time all year.
Victoria says maybe BV will bring in Garrett Riley. 3 laughing face emojis. Yoda says Lincoln Riley available next year, I ask. Yoda called in on the postgame show, but did not talk like Yoda, and it was a little disappointing. Yeah, I know. It was disappointing. But super nice guy. Liked talking to him. It was great. But, yeah, that's where we're at. The Riley brothers are being thrown out right now. We're down. We're down bad, dude. Down bad right now. Got to figure it out. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. We'll get to as many texts as we can coming up next. More OU Texas, unfortunately, right here on the Ref.
Dusty Dvorak here. Do you eat, sleep, and breathe football? KREF is the only place for the most comprehensive daily analysis of Sooner and college football. We are the football experts. We're the home of Sooner fans. Download the KREF app and listen from anywhere.
Life is yours to spend. Spend it making more money. Spend it making more memories. Spend it learning a new skill. Spend it teaching an old trick. Spend it career climbing. Spend it mountain climbing. First United Bank. Spend life wisely.
Hey Lister, I've been hearing all this talk about how prices on vehicles are through the roof, inventory's low, interest rates are high, and the games other dealers are playing are just out of control. A lot of people are scared to even go look for a new vehicle.
Jack, I've been hearing the same exact thing. So I've been thinking, down here at Knippelmeyer, let's go back to what made us the #1 dealership in Oklahoma for decades. I'm thinking starting September 1st, we price all of our trucks and SUVs at invoice, minus the rebates. That way we are helping people get the best deal right off the bat, without playing all the games the other dealers are playing.
That sounds like a game changer. Do we have enough inventory to sell our vehicles so cheap?
Yes, sir, we do. There are plenty to choose from, and more on the way. And we've been getting some really good interest rates lately for our customers.
So we've got the high prices figured out with invoice minus rebates, inventory on hand, and interest rates not driving up customers' payments. There is absolutely no reason someone shouldn't get their dream vehicle from us.
Yep, and Knippelmeyer is the place to get them. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Give hell the bird with Mallard Construction and Roofing. Mallard Construction and Roofing is your full-service residential roofing and restoration company. Family owned and operated, Mallard wants to make a difference in every aspect of the process from bidding to completion of the job. As 2023 Reader's Choice Awards Best Roofer, we have all the tools necessary to make your job successful. Give hell the bird today and call Mallard Construction and Roofing at 405-364-4501 for your free quote.
Also, schedule a roof inspection today with Mallard and enter their Jeep giveaway contest.
How about this? We're hanging out with the winningest coach in OU football history, Bob Stoops, Mondays on the T-Row in the Morning Show. It's the Stoops Review with the HBC on the T-Row Show, Mondays from 7:45 to 8:30 with limited commercial interruption. Every Monday, we'll be looking back at Saturday's OU game with a guy who knows what he's looking at. Bob Stoops, the Visor, the HBC on our show every Monday. Check it out.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Get ready for a month of scares at Heyday. Try our Halloween-themed drinks or enter to win our digital costume contest. Looking to up the fright factor? Check out Heyday After Dark. Play thrilling zombie laser tag and enjoy our haunted happy hour every Friday and Saturday from 9 p.m. to close. It's time to get in the spooky spirit the Heyday way.
Hey Sooners, I'm OU alum and Board Street Ventures founder James Spann. The Sooners season is underway, which means it's time for the Boyd Street Ventures Under the Radar Player of the Game. It's time for you to consider investing in BSV. Our portfolio has 16 innovative, under-the-radar, Oklahoma-connected companies. If you want in, the sooner the better, as our fund closes December 31st. Check out our portfolio at BoydStreetVentures.com. Boyd Street Ventures, under the radar, above the crowd.
Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno bring this hour of Locked In with McComas and Thune. Dorsey Jones is family owned and operated, established in 2020, but many of their employees have been there for more than 20 years. They sell Buicks and GMCs, which are some of the best trucks and SUVs on the road. That's Dorsey Jones Buick GMC in El Reno. I did see a list of midseason grades for all teams in the SEC.
Oh, no.
Well, it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. They gave OU a solid C. A C across the board for their midseason grade. And I said, whoa. That was on 24/7 Sports. I said, a little bit more generous than the grade that I would give them through
That
6
Auburn
games.
win's pulling a lot of weight with that C grade.
Offensive line woes, a quarterback change, injuries across the board at wideout. Everything that could go wrong on that side of the football afflicted the Sooners. They lost to the only ranked opponents they played, and now Oklahoma embarks on a second half loaded with tough matchups. Ole Miss, Missouri, Alabama, and LSU. If Saturday's home game with South Carolina goes south, there's a chance at a losing season. The wheels would have to come off for that to happen, though. Midseason grade is a C. OU has a better grade than Ole Miss has right now. They give Ole Miss a C-. Look, man, I'd probably go lower than a C. Yes, OU is 4-2, but how many games this year have we walked out and said, hey, man, all around that was complimentary football. That looked like a good football team today. They played well as a team. I don't think that you've necessarily had that game so far this year. So you got way more questions at this point than you do answers, and I'd love if they just had something to build on. But they don't have it in the passing game right now. They certainly don't have it in the run game, and I'm just kind of questioning what this team does here moving forward. The defense had some bad moments when it came to missed tackles. Now, clearly, they're in a very, very tough situation with what the offense, I was about to say is doing, really isn't doing. How do we feel overall the defense played on Saturday, though, especially given the situation?
Fine.
And that was kind of the vibe. I mean, there was a little bit of disappointment vibe after the game on Saturday, I felt like.
They played well in the first quarter. They kind of hit a wall in the second quarter. Everything hit a wall in the second quarter for Oklahoma. And then the second half, again, it was fine. Like, overall, it was a mediocre performance for OU's defense. They did not tackle as well as they needed to. They had tackling issues for really the first time all year. The entire day for Oklahoma was summed up in the Trey Wisner run that culminated in a fumble recovery by Silas Bolden for a touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Because on that play, the guy that came into the game as the highest-graded safety in the nation, Robert Spears-Jennings, whiffs on a tackle. Next, your preseason All-American, Billy Bowman, also whiffs even worse.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
He winds up on his butt.
Yeah.
Woody Washington, your sixth-year cornerback, who is in his fifth year as a starter, I kid you not, more or less runs himself out. Like, he's just completely lost. Has to run himself back into the play. Chases down Wisner at the 5-yard line and manages to pop the ball out. And then the heart and soul of your defense, Danny Stutzman. I don't even know, Tyler. Like, I don't know what was going through his head there. I don't know what he saw. I don't know if he was just loafing. It's not like Danny Stutzman to loaf, so I don't think that's the case. But whatever the case, he did not pursue that fumble as it carried into the end zone as devotedly as he could have. And here comes Silas Bolden streaking in to jump on top of it for a Texas touchdown.
It wasn't the best look. I mean, clearly it's not. Did that game single-handedly lose the game for Oklahoma? No, they lose the game regardless. But that was really felt like the moment where everything really changed for the worst.
And microcosm of the day. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Yep. Big Rich in OKC, in all caps. Are we thinking Emmett Jones can be a very good OC? Guy has a 24-year history. I have no idea if Emmett Jones can be an OC. I just, for all the reasons that we've already said about what Brent needs to do and what he's frankly going to have to do, Emmett Jones is not going to be your offensive coordinator next year. Brent's going to have to go out and do a national search and go identify who the best option is and go pay high-level money for that option. That's what's going to have to happen. That's what's going to happen, I believe.
And I think Emmett Jones is probably a competitive enough and confident enough dude that if you ask, like let's say Brent Venables capitulated to the desires of so many fans and decided to make a midseason change and you needed somebody to call the plays. If I'm in Emmett Jones' shoes and Brent Venables asked me, hey, you want to call the plays the last 5 games of the season? My answer is no. Like with what this offense looks like right now, if you're going to hand me the playbook that we've been using and ask me to dial up the schemes, shoot, I'm not tanking my rather sterling perception amongst this fan base to be the punching bag for all of their frustrations over the last 5 games because there's just not much hope for this offense to be better.
972 McKinney, Texas. Is Gavin Sawchuk in the doghouse? We haven't seen him in the past get better. We have seen him in the past get better as the season progresses. He is lucky to get 2 carries a game this season. Well, he's just like everyone else. He hasn't been very good, and he hasn't been very effective at this point. I think going into this game, we all felt pretty confident that Barnes and Javonte Barnes and Taylor Tatum were your best 2 options at running back. Now, those guys haven't been fantastic either, and clearly Taylor Tatum had a big fumble in the first half of that game, but I don't think more carries for Sawchuk really improves much of anything right now. Alex from Manford, get rid of Latrell and Joe John right now. Whoever helps coach the tight ends can take care of that room and then give the OC interim job to Kevin Johns the rest of the year. And by doing that, you are showing the fan base, donors, and recruits that you are serious about fixing the offense. Cherokee Sooner says the wheels have already come off. And 214 says, Tyler, the defense sucked too. Missed tackles and confused when play calls were late.
Vinny Paul on the text line says, that is not what we're going to do. We're not blaming Danny for that play. That's effing trash. Vinny, I didn't blame Danny for the play. I don't know what your issue is with me, but you can back the hell off because my point there was that everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for Oklahoma on that play. Not that what happened on that play was any singular individual's fault or that Danny Stutzman should have his feet held to the fire over that. Danny Stutzman, as I said, is the heart and soul of your freaking defense and maybe the best overall player on your team. By no means am I raking Danny Stutzman over the coals. So please and thank you, shut up.
There were a lot of things on – you'll remember this sequence on Saturday. There were just a lot of things throughout the day that frustrated me and annoyed me, much like everyone else. How about the back-to-back penalties on the punts that OU had? You remember that? The back-to-back penalties that OU had trying to punt towards the Texas end? I'm like, God, it's one thing to be not good on offense, but it still seems like they're undisciplined, man. The amount of penalties they had against Auburn, and I think they had 7 penalties on Saturday. I want to see what the number is, but there just feels like a lot of times where this team, at least offensively, is not, and I know that wasn't on the offense. What I'm talking about is on the special teams, but not super disciplined either. And that's pretty frustrating too. It's really frustrating.
Execution is bad, and we talked about it at the top. They just, even when there are opportunities there to make something happen offensively, there is a breakdown somewhere. And that's incredibly frustrating because it's never the same thing. It never seems like there's no pattern to any of it. There's a different breakdown seemingly every single time you do have an opportunity to make something exciting happen offensively.
Wallace says Vegas total wins was 7.5. Are we feeling the over or the under? Well, the line initially opened at OU with 6.5 wins, and everyone jumped on it so quickly that within like 24 hours, Vegas said, all right, we'll adjust the line here. We'll move it from 6.5 to 7.5. I don't feel great about the over of 7.5 hitting right now. I don't know how good I would feel about the over of 6.5, the original number, hitting either. The FPI, like for what it's worth, for OU's remaining games, ESPN FPI, Football Power Index, 65.8% chance to beat South Carolina, 17.2% chance to beat Ole Miss.
Oh, boy.
99% chance to beat Maine. 38.3 chance to lose to Mizzou. God, I'm dreading that trip so much. 28.7% chance to beat Bama.
That is higher than it should be.
And a 36.6% chance to beat LSU.
Wow.
So
yep, outlook is not great.
That would be, I mean, if you're going by those percentages, most likely you beat South Carolina in a very close game, you beat Maine, and then you lose to Ole Miss, Mizzou, Bama, and LSU and finish at 6-6.
A 405 listener says, Parker telling a listener to shut up reminds me of someone else on the radio at this time. Yes, my apologies. I didn't mean to channel my inner gout guy there, but Vinnie Paul comes at me all the time for no reason and is generally pretty incendiary in doing so. So I snapped. I'm sorry. I'm done being angry today. Well, I'm not done being angry. I'm done being angry on the radio.
Let's see. Play Jake Roberts more. Bauer can't block, says Big Rich in OKC. You want to throw the ball to Jake Roberts more when you play him, or you just think that he can overall block better than Bauer Sharp? Because I think the tight end spot has not been great for this team this year. Hasn't been great. 918, this team from top to bottom has no discipline, is poorly coached, and cannot execute. Just going to keep reiterating, this thing is never going to get better under Brent Venables. They're going to have to get that OC hire right at the end of the season.
Here's some optimism from a listener in the 903. I still stand that OU finishes 9-3.
Man. I wish I could get there.
I do too, man. That is quite the rosy outlook, because that means that you're only losing one more football game the rest of the way. And right now, I can't, in good conscience, pick Oklahoma to beat Alabama, to beat LSU, to beat Ole Miss. I think they have a chance against Missouri. I think they have a chance against South Carolina. They'll beat Maine. But, man, something's got to turn. Something's got to go right. So they got to get something on track offensively.
You know which game is that I'm looking at right now that really, really scares me? I mean, all of them, of course. And having to be around Mizzou fans is going to be god-awful regardless of the result. But you know who's very angry about their team and has a bye week this week and I think really going to look to get back on track in a couple of weeks is Ole Miss. You don't think Ole Miss is going to come out maybe a little bit pissed off and ready to hit on all cylinders offensively in a couple of weeks? I just hope they beat South Carolina on Saturday before I even think about that game. I just hope that they could beat South Carolina at home. Like, we chalked that up as the easiest win in the offseason, did we not? Oh, yeah, South Carolina, easy win. Dude, if you lose to South Carolina on Saturday, you may not win an SEC home game this year.
And that means you may not go bowling, Tyler.
Oh, I think that does mean
if you don't go bowling, oh boy. There's going to be a riot.
Yeah, it'll be bad. It'll be really, really bad if that's the case. And I think we know what the storyline is going into next year, right? Like, Brent will definitely have to hit on that OC hire and maybe some other hires, or it'll spell real trouble for him. 11 a.m. for OU Ole Miss, by the way, in case you didn't see it out there. 11 a.m. kickoff in Oxford coming up a week from Saturday between OU and the Ole Miss Rebels. Cotton Bowl was a complete disaster, by the way, as well, if the game wasn't bad enough. No water available. You couldn't freaking move on at least the lower level in the concourse. They had beer. They had plenty of beer in the troughs there. Like, people selling them there in the concourse, but they were out of water on the hottest OU Texas in several years. They were out of water, at least on the OU side, before halftime even got there. Inexcusable, man. I love that. I love this game. I hope it never moves from the Cotton Bowl, but it's a 2:30 kickoff, one of the hottest OU Texas that in recent memory, and we run out of water in the first half. Water doesn't go. Hey, you can reuse it. How's that happen? How do you run out of water in the first half? All of it was just bad. Saturday just sucked, dude. I guess the first 15 minutes were all right, but after that, yikes. Big yikes.
This is how bad it was, Tyler. Throughout my career, I've saved every single one of my credentials that I've ever received for a collegiate sporting event. The only credential that I discarded was the 2022 Red River Rivalry credential.
Going to burn this one in studio tomorrow?
I have done the same already with the 2024 credential.
Would you just throw it away?
No desire to remember what happened on Saturday.
Maybe burn it in studio tomorrow or something like that. That could be fun. All right, The Rush is coming up next. 3 more hours about talking about this.